Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. We continue reading from Imam Al-Ghazali's Jawahir al-Quran, the jewels of the Quran. And we have reached the, after mentioning the books on jurisprudence, Al-Basit, Al-Wasit, Al-Wajiz, Imam Al-Ghazali spoke about Usul al-Fiqh from among jurisprudence. The Quran and tradition there originates as science, named the principles of jurisprudence, Usul al-Fiqh. It concerns the control of the rules of seeking information by Quranic verses. In fact, the Arabic is ويرجع إلى ضبط قوانين الاستدلال بالآيات والأخبار على أحكام الشريعة. قوانين الاستدلال, how to infer basically these legal maxims and how to apply them to the the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It concerns the control of the rules of seeking information by Quranic verses and prophetic traditions about the judgments of the revealed law. I think, of course, there is something in the Arabic that English is not catching. Literally, it's you need to study usul fiqh in order to understand how you deal with the text, عام, خاص, and you need to know the Arabic enough to understand that the meaning of the for example, the wow, which is typically understood as and, has some 14 meanings in one of my readings. And of course, this will have an impact on understanding the text. It should not be hidden from you that the ranks of storytellers and preachers are below the ranks of jurists and theologians, so long as the former group is content with mere stories and the like of them. And this is something that we spoke about in the last session. The ranks of jurists and theologians are close to one another. The need for jurists, however, is more universal. الحاجة إلى الفقيه أعم. So the need really for the jurists is greater. There's greater need for the jurists compared to theologians, while that for the theologians is much stronger, and both are needed for the well-being of this world. And this world today, they don't want basically neither the theology nor the jurisprudence. They don't want law. Not only they don't want Islamic law, they want law only in as much as it renders halal what was haram until yesterday. That's what's needed. Change of law, change of narrative. Theologians are needed. Of course, they are both needed for the well-being of this world. Jurists are needed for the preservation of judgments with regard to the specialization of food and women. In fact, أحكام الاختصاصات بالمآكل والمناكح, why not say simply marriage rather than woman? Okay, because you have laws that are applicable to men and applicable to women. As for the theologians, المتكلم, theologians are needed for repelling by argument and dispute the harm done by heretics, in order that their evil may not be spread, and their harm may not become common. The relationship of jurists and theologians to the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to what is aimed at is as follows. The relationship of jurists is similar to the relationship of those who build and maintain houses of refuge and provide facilities along the way to Mecca for pilgrimage. The relationship of theologians is similar to the relationship of squandered things on the path of pilgrimage and of its guard to the pilgrims. So the jurists are like those who build these in Arabic really ribatat and the ribatat used to be on the road but also on the edge of the Islamic state wherever that was. So ribat and thugur and they were all tied up together, and really it's because of fear of from enemies. And this is at a time when people lived in closed, literally walled cities or citadels and what have you. So in the evening, literally, you would close the gates of the city or the ribat or whatever. So that's the bidding such ribatat on the way to Mecca uh, for pilgrimage. That's the work of the jurists. As for the theologians, the mutakallimin, they are like the you might say battalion, you might say like a group of guards that will protect the pilgrims. And if I may include um, Imam Ghazali's discussion of this on the importance and the need for the theologians, the mutakallimun, in Ihya Ulumuddin, he said that you would need this badraqa, you need this group of guards. If you have enemies, if you have no enemies, you don't need these guards. So, for example, right now there are no ribatat on the road. You do not really use the ribatat. Maybe now for Sufis. Uh, you would find lodges at the intervals of a day's travel, so that the animals would rest, so they would be fed, they would be given water, finding shelter for the caravans. So the relationship of the theologians is similar to the relationship of squandered things on the path of pilgrimage and of its guard to the pilgrims. There are no squandered things. I think this is a wrong translation of the Badraqa, probably. But that's so. Really, the Badraqa is the group of guards. Should the jurists and theologians add to their occupations the traversing of the path to God, may be exalted, subhanahu wa ta'ala, by abstaining from the blameworthy aspect of the world and by advancing towards God, may, may be exalted, then their excellence over others would be like the excellence of the sun over the moon. If, however, they confine themselves only to their occupations, their rank will be very low. The higher grade of the sciences of the pith, you talk about al-lubab, of the Quran consists in those important sciences which are the precedents and roots of the three sciences already mentioned. The noblest of these higher sciences is knowledge of God, and the last day for this knowledge is of that which is intended. Below this is knowledge of the straight path and of the manner of traversing it. This is the knowledge of a purification of the soul and removal of the obstacles of the destructive qualities, and of B, making the soul beautiful with the saving qualities. Again, the higher grade of the sciences of the pith of the Quran consists in those important sciences which are the precedents and roots of the three sciences already mentioned. The last day, the noblest of these higher sciences is knowledge of God, and the last day, for this knowledge is of that which is intended. Below this is knowledge of the straight path and of the manner of traversing it. This is the knowledge of a purification of the soul and removal of the obstacles and destructive qualities, and B, making the soul beautiful with the saving qualities. وتحليتها بالصفات المنجيات المنجيات. So we don't talk about a physical makeup or tahliya. Usually in the language of the Sufis, there is takhliya before the tahliya. There is a purification, the tazkiyah, which is mentioned really. The Arabic is tazkiyah and then tahliya. Takhliya and tahliya should also be. We discuss these forms of knowledge in the 40 books of the revival of religious sciences. In the books of the revival of religious sciences. Thus, in its quarter on the destructive qualities are discussed the vices from which the purification of the soul is required, namely greed, anger, pride, ostentation, conceit, envy, love of influence, love of wealth, and so on. In the quarter of the saving qualities appear the praiseworthy qualities with which the soul should be made beautiful, such as aesthetism, trust in God, satisfaction with divine decrees, love of God, truthfulness, sincerity, and so forth. In short, the revival of the Islamic sciences comprises 40 books, each of which will guide you to one of the obstacles of the carnal soul, together with the method of its removal, and to one of the veils of the carnal soul, along with the method of lifting it. This is a science, the rank of which is above the sciences of jurisprudence, theology, and what is before these. For this is the science of the manner of traversing the path of God itself, while the others are merely the sciences of the instrument of traversing, of repairing its stages, and of resisting those which corrupt it when they appear. The highest and noblest knowledge is the knowledge of God, subhanahu wa ta'ala, because all other forms of knowledge are sought for the sake of it. So the highest and noblest knowledge is the knowledge of God, subhanahu wa ta'ala, because all other forms of knowledge are sought for the sake of it and is not sought for anything else. The manner of progression is in regard to it is to advance from divine works to divine attributes, and then from divine attributes to divine essence. Thus, there are three stages. The highest of these stages is knowledge of divine essence, and it is not possible for most people to understand this. That is why they have been commanded reflect on God's creation and do not reflect on His essence. تفكروا في خلق الله وتفكروا في مخلوقات الله, that is, ولا تفكروا في ذاته سبحانه وتعالى. This progression is indicated by the gradual advance of God's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam in his observation when he said, I seek the protection of your forgiveness from your punishment. أعوذ برضاك من سخطك بعافيتك بمغفرتك. Here it says أعوذ بعفوك من عقابك. ثم قال وأعوذ برضاك من سخطك. And ultimately وأعوذ بك منك. I seek the protection of your forgiveness from your punishment. This is the observation of divine work. Then he said, I seek the protection of your pleasure from displeasure. This is his observation of divine attributes. Finally, he said, I seek the protection of you against you. I seek protection of you against you. I seek the protection. I seek your protection from you. This is his observation of divine essence. Thus, he was advancing step by step towards nearness to God. Then, at the time of reaching the extreme stage, he admitted his inability by saying, I do not understand your praise. You are as you have praised yourself. لا أحصي ثناء عليك أنت كما أثنيت على نفسك. This hadith, which is narrated by Imam Muslim, لا أحصي ثناء عليك أنت كما أثنيت على نفسك. I cannot exhaust all praise, all due praise. My knowledge is incomplete vis-a-vis the praises. Just remember that the Prophet ﷺ, on the day of judgment, he will be equipped, gifted. He will be given. He will be inspired to praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with praises that he has never used before. لا أحصي ثناء عليك أنت كما أثنيت على نفسك. This is the highest of the most noble of the fields of knowledge. This, that is the knowledge of God, is the noblest of all forms of knowledge and is followed in excellence by knowledge of the life to come, which is knowledge of final return to God, as we have already mentioned in our discussion of the three divisions of the Qur'an. This knowledge is connected with the science of gnosis, ilm al-ma'rifah, and its real meaning is knowledge of man's relation to God subhanahu wa ta'ala at the time of being drawn near to him, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, through knowledge of being veiled from him by ignorance. Some of the principles of these four types of knowledge, that is, knowledge of divine essence, attributes and works, and knowledge of the future life, and their confluence, which are that measure of knowledge with which we have been provided despite our short life. Many works and calamities, and few helpers and companions we set forth in some of our works but did not disclose. The reason for not disclosing it is that most people's understanding would be wearied by it, and the weak, who are the most traditional in knowledge, مترسمون بالعلم, would be harmed by it. Indeed, its disclosure is only beneficial to him who has brought his knowledge of outward acts, علم الظاهر, to perfection, and has followed the path to God, removing evil qualities from the carnal soul and undergoing the methods of mortification, with the result that this carnal soul has become trained and is in good condition on the straight path, so that he has no longer any pleasure in the blameworthy aspect of the world and only searches for the true one. In addition to these, he is provided with illuminating prudence, critical natural disposition, sharp intelligence, and clear understanding. It is unlawful for those into whose hands that book falls to disclose it, except to one who combines in oneself all these qualities. This, then, is the confluence of the sciences stemming from the Qur'an and their creeds. Next, inshallah, the stemming off of the sciences of the ancients and the moderns. Moderns, we said this before, that during his time, from the Quran. So we stop here with the and we resume, inshallah, with this new title, chapter 5. Until then, سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.